as long as there's not a tag, or if it's your tag on your chair. And we do want you to be careful as to where you are seated here, because one of the things that, you know, statistics tell us that probably 2/3 of the people have parasites in their system. Therefore, it could be the one next to you. Now, we need to know about that, and that's the subject, the major subject of our next speaker, although he can handle a lot of things. And so welcome, if you will, from the area of Olympia, Washington, Mr. Wayne Rowland. Here he is.
I think, can everyone hear me? Everything's all right? How many folks in this room have not heard me before? Okay. This is basically a story of absolute necessity. This is a story that I'm going to tell you that is part of my life, that has been my life for some time, and has basically been my life because I was in need of survival. I was absolutely in need of to be able to find a way to stay alive. I was born on an Indian reserve, on the Standing Rock Indian Reserve in North Dakota. My mother was 13 years old when I was born, and she had another child 11 months later, and she just simply couldn't handle all of it. And so the shaman and his wife built a little cabin next to ours, and I sort of became their child. And I was raised by the shaman and his wife, and my main focus in life was going to God's banquet table to get information, to actually get out of here, to leave this place, and to go to that which is blue-black, and you can see almost into infinity. When you get there, the last thought that you had is the actual answer you want, and you look out in the distance and there's this tiny little white light with a little tail on it. It's traveling at a horrendous speed, and somehow intuitively you know that it's going to hit you, and it roars right up to you and stops and turns into literally your last thought. You enter it, feel it, live it, go through it, turn around, look at the back of it, go back into it, come out in front of it, and you grab it, and you fall towards the planet Earth. And as you're falling, the Earth is way down there. It's about the size, about half the size of this room, I'd say, for me. And as you fall to the earth, you, in your mind, scream the spectrum of the colors of the rainbow. And when you get to Hertizen, which is yellow, you eject it into reality. You sort of come to wherever you are, and the item or the knowledge falls into your lap. That's pretty much the way it works now. Mind you, I've fine-tuned that over 55 years or 58 years. I guess everybody always does refine things, and I'm no exception. It's a little different than what we were doing when I was a child. But what has happened is my education was not going to school. I've never been to school ever. I don't even have grade 1. But we had an 1840s engineering encyclopedia. And so to learn to read and write, I did all the words, underlined the ones I couldn't understand, which was pretty much all of them in the beginning, and learned to read and write and to understand through memorizing 3 volumes of the engineering encyclopedia. You wouldn't believe the archaic, ancient engineering principles stuck away in this head, which, by the way, I'm finding out now that they're bringing them to the forefront again and hailing them as new ideas. I always wanted to be an engineer and couldn't be. They wouldn't even talk to me. They said that I would have to go through all this schooling, all goodness gracious. And I've always had this ability of being able to earn money. I organized the natives. I created a cooperative fur trading group. It was the first one of its kind ever. I wound up taking the furs myself to the auction sale where Hudson's Bay was selling their furs, and instead of 12 cents a fur, I was getting $1.85, that sort of thing. And as an 18-year-old, in my third month, I earned my first $30,000. It was quite by accident, but I've been at it ever since. And so when I wanted to be an engineer and couldn't be, I just went out and bought my own engineering firm. And it came with an engineer. And so I put a suit on, and who's to say I'm not an engineer, right? And so I wound up, would you believe, building government buildings. And would you believe they're still standing? It was during a contract that a bid was put out by a pipe company that manufactures pipe. And the way they manufacture pipe is they take large sheets and they bend them on a corkscrew fashion through a roller. And then they sit outside them with this electric machine, an extremely expensive apparatus, and they weld them from the outside. And somebody goes inside and grinds out all the welds, and then they weld them inside. And it's really a time-consuming issue. They got to x-ray them and do all this. And they wanted somebody to build a device that they could redesign this idea. So I put a bid in on it. I went to God's banquet table, got all the information, saw the machine that I was to build, took the contract, was awarded the contract, put a deposit up on a guarantee, a money-back guarantee that it would work, and I was awarded the contract. I built the device, and the device is being used today. But during the end of that contract, we had a chopper to install because they wanted to make pipe a specific length. And what I did is I literally built a device that had a series of rollers on it that would roll the sheet metal around like this, and I put a long, long arm inside of it with a shaver on it, and built an automatic welder on top, so that as the sheet, when it came together, was welded continuously, any size, with rollers on the inside in the beginning and the outside all the way along to the end. The pipe would have a seamless, literally a seamless weld all the way down the top of it, and it would be shaved on the inside so that it would withstand the 1700 psi pressures that were expected of it. The contract went very well. I was paid, and in the last of it, we were installing the chopper, and a young 17-year-old boy who was an apprentice welder, we were making lead pipe or lead hammers, because we had to move a huge shaft with threads all over it, and when you hit the threads with a hammer, you damage the threads, so you make these big lead hammers, and the lead bends and you move the shaft. And this youngster was wondering what would happen if he threw a cup of coffee into this 50-pound pot of molten lead. And when he threw the coffee in, the explosion that occurred picked me up and embedded me in a wall. And that was that. And every time I talk about this, I get this horrendous rush. I'm going to have to quit talking about this. At any rate, everything sort of just came in to a dot in the center, and then it went out. And when it went out, I heard this horrendous racket. And I thought, wow, I've never heard that there was noise like this in heaven. Must have gone, geez, I wonder if I'm going to meet any of my friends here. And I was sort of thinking about all this and thinking to myself, gee whiz, if I really been like that, then I'd have to go here. And all of a sudden that dot appeared again. And something walked in front of the dot, passed by it. And I thought, oh, well, wherever I am, I'm going to find out. And the dot started to open up, and here there was some firemen cutting me out of the wall with a chainsaw. That was the noise. Well, I was relieved, and it hurt. I was badly burned. I had no hair. I never grew hair for a couple of years. I was bald. I was badly burnt all over my body. I have terminal lead poisoning, which the lead went into my tissue and cooled down there and formed millions of tiny little balls of pure lead in my tissue. My liver started to fail. I was told by the folks at the hospital that I was not going to survive this. And I was put into a club called To Die with Dignity. I am a lifetime member. I'm the only survivor of our group. And that was the very first time that I ever found out that love and forgiveness were very important in life if you want to survive. For you see, a young man had stolen $4,000 from me. And I was so furious at him because I trusted him, and he hurt me. I really trusted this person. I gave this person a lot of leeway in my business. And he stole $4,000 from me. Thank heavens I caught him when I did. He'd have bankrupted me in the end. But anyway, I caught him, and I was so mad at him, I just said, go away, don't bother me. I'm not going to call the police. I don't want to get involved in that. Just leave me alone. Well, when I'm in the hospital, he comes into the room. And it was then that I realized how bad off I was, because he didn't recognize me. And that really did something to me then, too. Up until that time, I never really thought I was really that bad off. And he came in, he looked at me, and he said, wow. He said, listen, he said, I really heard you were in a bad way. I came to apologize to you. But he said, there's something about me that you didn't know, and I really should have told you. He said, I was kind of involved in drugs and things, and he said, I shouldn't have been, but I was. And he said, I'm really sorry. But he said, look, he said, you know, he said, you have all this money and stuff, and I'll never make anything out of myself, and you're not going to be here. And I was sort of wondering if you could sort of see yourself clear to sort of donate a little of that money to me. You know, I gave serious consideration to it. When you're in that position, and the whole world changes. It just changes. You just don't care much. I was having trouble with the psychiatrist in the club called To Die with Dignity. She was an idiot, I'm sorry, but she just, you know, hello. Now death is just an extension of life, isn't it? Yeah, you die, I'll live, lady, you know. Get on with it, let's hear something positive, and everybody's sitting there. Oh, and I told her, I said, listen, even in death, even when you're terminal, you can be upbeat. You don't have to listen to this. And so here I am, and this fellow's asking for this money, and I looked at him and I said, look, here's my decision. Where I'm going, you'll probably end up, and then I'll have to deal with you because you did an overdose of drugs, and I'll give you the money to do it. You know? You understand what I mean? And he looked at me and said, yeah, he said, I kind of thought you'd say something like that. Hey, he said, you know what? He said, I know this guy that handles lead poisoning. I said, really? Yeah. Now, I'm in a hospital, right? Doctors are looking after me. They're giving me the best of everything. He said, yeah. I said, oh, where is he? He said, he's in California. Well, we all know what lives in California, right? We all know. And I'm from the north. And I said, oh, come on. I said, what kind of who is this? He said, well, he's a priest. I said, well, what kind of a priest is he? No, he said, he's a Catholic priest. And he specializes in handling lead poisoning. And I said, well, I wasn't thinking too straight. And I looked and I said, well, I guess the Pope has to send somebody there to straighten them all up. I said, well, have you got the guy's name? And he said, yeah, he got his phone number. You can phone him. But he said, don't mention my name. I said, well, how much you rip that place off for? You know, I mean, the confession will never be the same down there, I suppose, right? He says, no, man. He says, just take it easy. Here's the number. There was a kerfuffle over the number. He wanted $1,000 for it. Oh, there was a bunch of other stuff went on. It just got too involved. But anyway, I phoned the number, and this little voice, this tiny little voice, answers the phone. I tell him who I am, that I've heard of him, that he can handle some lead poisoning problems, and I tell him my story. And he broke down on the phone and wept. He actually broke down on the phone and wept. And that was a little more than I can handle too, and so I said, well, what do you say? So I said, well, can you or can't you? He said, where are you? I told him. He said, I'll have something there for you tomorrow. I said, okay. So the next day, in walks this airline pilot. The very next day with a box. And he says, Wayne Rowland? And I said, yes. He said, this is from Ray Schmidt. I said, oh, really? Wow. I said, that was fast. Oh, yes. I looked at him and said, well, who are you? And he says, it's all right. I'm just a friend. Here's the box. I said, great. And I opened the box. And I look at it, and there's a note in there, and the stuff in this box stinks like the bad end of a pig pen. This is bad stuff. I mean, this isn't bad stuff. This is bad stuff. And so I open the note, and I look at it, and it says, Dear Wayne, don't eat any of this till you've called me. And I thought, oh, no. And I said, yeah, no kidding. So I called him. I said, and he's on the phone, and in this tiny little voice, I said, Ray, what is this stuff? Wayne, I want to tell you, God sends miracles in the strangest little packages. And if you turn it down, that's your decision. So here's what you need to do. I'm supposed to stick this in my cheeks if I can't swallow it, because I would, wouldn't be able to hold that down. He was right. I couldn't hold it down. And I had to make a paste and put it all over my burns and everything. And I'm in a hospital. And I told the guy beside me, I said, hey, listen, I said, I got to do this. I got to try something. They haven't got a thing here for me. I said, do you think they'll handle this? Oh, to hell with them. I'm 270 pounds. They're going to have a hell of a time stopping me here. I said, I'm big, and I'll buy the bed. I'll buy the sheets. I'll buy everything here. I got the money to do this. So I get up, I rummage around, and all I can find is this nice, shiny, round thing, you sit on for a pot to mix this stuff in. And I clean it all up as best I can, and I'm mixing this slop in there, and it's all green and ucky and stinks to high heaven. And I'm on the bed, and I said to my neighbor, I said, will you help me put this on my back? I can't get back there. He said, oh, God. He said, I can't do that. He says, they'll kick my butt out, let alone yours. I said, well, just wash your hands. We won't tell anybody. He said, well, if we make it fast, he said, I'll help. But he said, man, he said, that stuff's sure in the right pot, isn't it? Well, the nurse walks in. Now I'm relieved. This stuff is working. It took all the pain away. And I got a big chunk of it in my mouth, and I can hardly handle that. And it's also coming down my cheeks and stuff. I'm drooling. It makes the saliva run and stuff. And I'm thinking, oh, God, how long am I going to have to do this? 10 minutes? No, 16 weeks. And I thought, oh, I'm never going to make this. And I'm looking at her. She walks by. Hello, Wayne. Hello. She walked back out, and I thought, wow, that was easy. Look, she didn't even recognize that I had anything on me. These people are truly intelligent. God, they got it together. And then this whole mob scene in the place, they brought guards up and everything. It was a bad scene. See, they thought something had gotten by the blood barrier in the brain. Well, maybe it had. I'd smartened up. I realized they couldn't help me. And finally, I had to get out of the hospital. I ended up having to buy that bed and all the other stuff. It had seeped into everything. It was kind of bad. It got in the motor, and the motor quit and was smoking this algae stuff. I mean, it was really bad. The whole thing was just a mess. And so we moved out into my place, and then I wouldn't let the police in, so they were threatening to kick the door down to get the public nurse in. And in 15 days, I was better. I was dressed. I quit bleeding. I quit seeping all this liquid out of my body. But the scars and the burns, they never healed. To this day, they have never healed. You wouldn't believe what I look like underneath this suit. You just wouldn't believe it. And the lead poisoning pops out all over the place in strange places, like here on my hand. It just started 2 days ago. And I'm going to have a tough time handling that one because I can tell by the way it's happening. So it looks like I need some more Russian chelation, and I need to go through this stuff, which damn near kills me every time I do it. But the point is, I developed stomach and esophagus cancer out of this lead poisoning. I was in a wheelchair with arthritis out of this lead poisoning. I've fought for my life 18 solid years. And that's the start of this story that I have to tell you. I have discovered some incredibly remarkable things about life. Just about health, about the way that you can carry on past that wall that you get to all the time. So what I've discovered, and this is really important, you know when you go to the health food store and you do your thing and you get all those vitamins and you do this program and that program and you do all this stuff, you go so far and you can't get any further. You hit a wall and you're aging, you're getting older. Well, I found a way to get every single one of you over the wall. Look, folks, it's an absolute truth. No, you can't have any. So,
leave the building.
They want us to leave the building?
What he just said. That's a real fire.
See those doors right there? They lead directly outside.
That's a clear.
That's an all clear? So the point here is, this is what I found out. You see, now this is different. This is the white light, yes. You're all about to ride the white light. This is going to be a dramatic tape. Sirens, lights.
This is global science.
At any rate, what we found out was that you, each and every one of you, have got a problem. Every single one of you. And in the beginning of this, I really doubted it. I really doubted what I found out. Is there any way to stop that? Now, what we needed to do, I needed to go back and find out just exactly what the problem was in this whole issue of health. if doctors couldn't handle anything, and here this little priest had come out of the woodwork and handled my lead poisoning like he did and some other health issues, and I went back to the doctors to tell them there was no interest. They weren't interested. That floored me. So I said to them, what else are you not telling us? And that meant I had to go back into history and find out where they'd made a mess of it. And as the further I got back in history, through the 1800s, I began to realize that, look, you know, you compare a hospital today with all their fancy white uniforms and all their multi-millions of dollars of equipment, and what did they know back then? What were they doing? Guessing? I mean, what did a doctor know then? What was going on? Did they know absolutely nothing? I mean, that's the opinion that everyone basically has. You know, back there in the 1800s, they knew nothing. So I started finding books that were published by doctors through the 1800s, books that they read and books that they learned from. And lo and behold, out of every single book were deworming programs, parasite programs, all through America, all through Canada, all through the world, parasite programs, and pictures of parasites that they had found in flesh. For doctors in those days did autopsies, and they found parasites. And I looked at that and I got a hold of doctors and they said, no, we don't have parasites today. No parasites in America. It's just third world country problem. And people with pendulums, I went to them and I said, do people have parasites? And they did pendulum work. No. I said, okay. Well, folks, I want to tell you, every single person that's used a pendulum and it said a person is parasite-free, I've done a parasite program on them. People that do muscle testing. Look, a parasite program is a poison. Are you going to test good for a poison? No, never. So muscle testing's out too. If you're going to muscle test for a poison, an awful lot of you are going to do a disservice to yourself, because you're going to muscle test that you don't need this stuff in your body. Believe me, you don't, but you do. So we started to search for parasite programs just to see what was going on, to see if maybe something was happening that we really didn't understand. So I did myself first. And lo and behold, I got 8 and 10-inch critters out of me. They were white. First of all, they were in a toilet water and they were all bunched up. I thought it was mucus. Until, just for a curiosity, I threw some hot water in the toilet to warm it up, and then went, and gosh, they strung out and they were swimming all over. And I thought, oh my heavens, look at that. Since then, I've done 100,000 of you. In 5 years, I've dewormed 100,000 of you. 100,000 of you. And you should see and hear the stories. We're now doing pictures in color out of clinics where you go potty on a special pot with a screen in it, and they take pictures of the parasites they get out of you on these different deworming programs. You're just not going to believe what I've got to show you next round. You're just not going to believe this. The last pictures are coming in when I get home. They should be there. The woman got 18-inch long critters out of her that were so thick she couldn't get them into a top of a juice bottle. She got 8 of them. 8 of them. They're usually translucent. They're usually white. And there's some of them that look like tarantula spiders. Some of them look like grasshoppers. Some of them look like little tiny miniature sailboats. Some of them look like little spacecraft. There, this is really strange stuff. And every single person I have dewormed, I have never yet dewormed anyone where they didn't tell me, hey, I feel 25% better. I've got a lady that is getting little tiny crab-like critters out of the corners of her eyes every single day. They're coming out of her brain. I tried to talk a man who was really badly parasite-ridden, and people that are super parasitical, they have bad breath. Halitosis is a main cause. By the time you got halitosis, you're loaded, because that's worm urine and worm droppings that you're breathing out. So it's no wonder your breath's bad. Um, the critters, when they pee, that's called ammonia. So just go to a doctor, have a blood test, and see what level of ammonia is in your blood. If you have ammonia in your blood, that's called worm urine. That's what it is. So we have a test to see if you've got a lot of worms. If you're on a fast and you're fasting and you're on a diet and you get a headache, you got the headache because the worms are all peeing, trying to get you to eat something else. They're trying to make you sick so you'll get off of what you're doing and start eating. So you take some arginine and orthodine, in a matter of 20 minutes, if the headache's gone, you've neutralized the worm urine and you know that you're loaded. All children that have little tiny pimples on the backs of their arms or little tiny pimples here on the edges of their cheeks have 5 varieties of critters in them. 5 varieties. It's time to deworm and it's time to get them out. Now what I found out is that vibration and frequency is everything. It is literally everything. If you take an aspirin, it changes the way you vibrate. And so it blocks the nerves so that you can't feel pain. If you take deworming programs, you change your vibration, and you change your vibration so dramatically that the worms and parasites either have to get out of you, this is no longer a good home, or they die in you. And then your lungs and your liver and all that stuff handle it. And you do it with water. And out of all of this, I handled my cancer, my stomach and esophagus cancer, which is a terminal problem. I am the only, that I know, survivor of stomach and esophagus cancer in this nation. I'm the only one that I know. All right? I did it with frequency. A man by the name of Royal Rife in 1934 had a microscope and invented a particular device. I found one of his original devices. I used it, and it got rid of my cancer, and I haven't had it since. Now that was in 1934. So you can see what they've held from you. So what we did is we looked at Nikola Tesla, we looked at all his equipment, we did all his stuff, and I went out searching out original pieces of his equipment. I own more pieces of original Tesla equipment than any other human that I know. And so using lightning, 1,200,000 volts of kinetic energy, we fire that down a tube onto an absolute pure piece of silver. It's 99.99999 parts pure. It's as expensive as platinum. The lightning boils the molecules on the surface, and we spray clean drinking water as rain onto the surface, and the molecules explode into solution in angstrom size, and we can control the lightning, and what happens is it controls the field of flux around the tiny molecules of silver, and so therefore the silver starts to broadcast that into solution, and voila, we have a Rife machine in water. And I found out that all the planets that revolve around the sun are making noise. They're singing to each other. They're making noise. And then I found out that miraculously, when a piano was invented, they didn't even know about some of the planets. But when they tuned that piano, they matched all the hertz rates and all the notes to all the planets, and they got them all right. And they didn't have to tune a piano that way. Crazy Otto out of Germany played beautiful music, and he used an untuned grand piano to play his music. So they didn't have to tune the piano that way. They did. That to me was a miracle. And so we decided to use the chord of B flat because that's the way the planet used to vibrate. And now it's off its axis, and guess what? I put B flat into that water that's sitting right there, that silver Wayne water, and we fed it to the kids that work in our lab, and you know, they quit listening to wild music, and now they're starting to listen to country and western and some classical. A scientist told me, a friend of mine, he said, Wayne, I believe that what you're doing, you're on the right track because all our kids are desperately looking for the musical notes that they're missing, and so they're listening to this wild, insane, out-of-control music. So we're putting it into the water. So we've put together a program. I've put together a program. I have picked several deworming companies because we found out that other scientists have stated that all cancer is caused by parasites of one sort or another. All disease is caused by the same way. Now, when you eat food, you take on parasite eggs. You just do. They're in all vegetables. All of them. Through the process of osmosis, when all those parasite eggs are in the soil and you water the garden, the eggs get into the plant through the process of osmosis, and you consume them when you eat a salad. The reason they hatch is because when they make salad dressing, they use propa-alcohol, food-grade propa-alcohol. They wash the huge tank out today, and tomorrow they make honey mustard, and they don't clean the propa-alcohol out of the tank properly. And so they mix the new salad dressing with propa-alcohol. That breaks down the shell of the egg, and when it gets in your gut, it hatches. Now it gets into your bloodstream because it's a really, really small little organism, and it's got a problem. There are these things called T cells going to devour them. And this one little bug had a friend, Pete, and he's already in that T cell screaming for his life. I mean, I can imagine the terror. And for some reason, as an example, your pancreas houses wood alcohol. When it houses wood alcohol to save you from it, that little parasite can feel the vibration and goes there for safety to see if it is safe, and lo and behold, it is. T cells can't go close to wood alcohol. And so it gets in there and it starts to grow up, and all kinds of others get in there and they have a great time and they drop their feces in there. The feces attracts another virus that lives in it, and mold, which grows little miniature mushrooms, and as a result your children are born, or you get later diabetes. And so we put a program together, and I've got hundreds of diabetics that are no longer diabetics. It takes somewhere between 6 weeks and 3 months, and up to this point I've only had 2 failures in 5 years. 2 failures in 5 years, and I'm still working with both of them. And I tell you, it's a deworming program. When they get into your thymus, do you know what happens? Your thymus starts to shut down. It disturbs the quantity and quality of acid in your stomach, and as a result of that you come down with Epstein-Barr, chronic fatigue syndrome, or candida. The mold now grows in your stomach because the acid isn't strong enough to kill it, and so the fruits you eat, here you've got a new problem. You're developing warts and all kinds of other things, and it's a mold problem. When you've got flukes in your thymus, you develop chronic fatigue and Epstein-Barr. All you need is a deworming program to shut it down. These folks in the back have a deworming program that we've done tests on. I do not make money on it. I do not sell it. It's a freedom of speech issue. All I sell are the support things around it. And I tell you folks, we've tried to get the program down to, instead of $600 like some other folks have, a full program to deworm you, we're down to somewhere around $245. And you can get your health back. And there are all kinds of things I've discovered that go with this. There's eye drops for those people that can't read and need glasses. If you get yourself a small amount of Clairvestan, which is an eye drop, and I think they've got some over there, you wind up rebuilding your eyeballs. I went to a man who needed deworming badly because he had bad breath, and he is an eye specialist, and he just laughed at me until he was doing an exam in the state that I live in on a woman, and a worm swam through. These parasites do not stay in one spot. They travel all over. They're small, they're microscopic, and you know what? Just in the tapeworm variety, there are 700 varieties. Just in that one grouping. If you're loaded with parasites, you're going to go bald, because certain parasites get into your scalp, and there they shut down the hair follicles with their feces. And folks, when I dewormed, that's how I grew this hair back. You know how many men have grown their hair back because they dewormed and now they're doing their stuff? You'd just be amazed. The hair just starts to grow back. Epstein-Barr, children's eye infections, a couple drops of that water in the eyes and the pink eye vanishes. You can time it in 6 hours. You can time it. Chronic ear infections in children. They've had infections in there for a whole year. 8 ounces of that water, a little bit of a deworming program, and within 2 or 3 days, the whole ear infection clears up and they do not come back. I'm telling you folks, this is big stuff. And now the FDA is on to us. They now know what the water will do. They now know what all this stuff is due, so they're prescriptionalizing everything. You will not be able to buy, you will not be able to hear me probably after February the 13th or so, or March the 15th this year. Nobody will be able to stand up here and talk like I'm talking right now, because the FDA is shutting it all down with a new program they've put in motion that is a labeling issue, and they're taking all colloids off the market. So we're dropping it into drinking water standards. That means I can sell drinking water. You'll still be able to buy the product, but I will never again be able to stand up and talk about it. Communism is here. We have not done anything about it, and if you want to do something about it, you better start doing something now, because this is a major issue. This means you cannot go to the health food store and read a damn thing about what you're buying. Nothing. You can't read about it. You can't walk in and buy colloidal silver in a store that does wonders for you. And the way they put it down, some 75-year-old woman, when she was 13 years old, said she drank some colloidal silver and turned blue. No one in the history of anything has ever turned blue from it. A few of them, when they were drinking a poison, which wasn't colloidal silver, it was silver nitrate, they turned gray. But the point is they're not, the FDA doesn't care. They've got you where they want you, you're not doing anything, and so they're shutting everything down. I've done the absolute best I can, folks, and I tell you right now, I can get your health back. So we've got other things to show you in the future, and when I come back, all you'll be able to see is me getting younger and younger and younger. I'm going back to 37. I was going to go to 28 or 29, but then I met a couple 29-year-olds. So that did that. Actually, I had a lengthy conversation with him. I thought, oh, wow. So 37, 38, 39 it is for me, and that's where I'm going back. And I want to tell you something. There's things around like this. This is called human growth hormone. And I found out if you put this with colostrum, which we also have, and you hook this up with your deworming program, this is an age regression program, guaranteed. It works. We have some of this from a German man who made this stuff, who owns the largest pharmaceutical company in the world. He's now 80 and he's dying. So he put the whole pharmaceutical company into work and he made this stuff. It's not marketed. I'm the only guy with it. It's called Human Growth Hormone Boost. Comes in a little tiny bottle for $28. And boy, does it work. Now, I don't know how long it's going to be really good, and I don't know how long the people are going to be able to get it into this country, probably another month or some blessed thing. But it has, I understand, a 9-year shelf life, and we're getting some of it in. It's not going to last long. If you want some of it to try it, you can get a little bottle of it for, or give your name and what have you. We can supply. If you can't get it, I think we got some bottles around here somewhere. Have you got any over there? Human growth hormone? Not quite yet. Well, I know there's some upstairs. The point is just leave your name and your phone number and he'll be able to get you a little bottle of it for you to try. It'll blow you out of the water. You combine it with some colostrum and combine it with this program and it will make you younger. It'll get rid of the wrinkles on your face. It'll make you bright and vibrant. Has anybody seen me the last time I talked? Anybody seen me? How am I looking?
Younger.
Much younger.
See? I'm telling you, folks, I'm going back to 37, and that's all there's to it. There's some side effects I have to warn you about, you men. You're nice and comfortable with the fact that you don't have to perform all the time? Ugh. Well, it's back. And it's not good. I wish it would go away. I really do. Just relax. Just relax. When I say so, not when you say so. You know, but this doesn't work. And I've forgotten about that. I really did. I forgot about it. And we've found out that we can do this. We can make you younger, make you vibrant, make you happy, make you healthy. There's all kinds of other little things. There's a substance, an ancient remedy called Lugol's iodine. Anybody heard of it? You know? Okay. We have some over here. Here's the issue. If you're not allergic to iodine, if you can eat shellfish, you're okay, and shrimp or crab or whatever, you're not allergic to iodine, you can handle this. 6 little drops in 8 ounces of water 3 times a day for 3 days knocks out candida every time. If you're in bed laying down there with candida, damn it, it's because these critters are growing in your stomach and spreading through your system. Candida is knocked out with Lugol's iodine in 3 to 4 days. Then you can stop using it for a while. There's all kinds of little tricks and things, and I'm going to be over here. I can do a few readings and things, and for my workshop, I got to find out when it is. I don't even know when it is. I'm going to do this one more time. I'm going to teach people how to go to God's banquet table. Now look, folks, if you're religious and you're a Christian, it's okay, so am I. But I just do things a little differently. And if you go to God's banquet table or listen to it, don't run out and scream the devil and all this nonsense, please. Don't come to the meeting, okay? That's kind of a warning for the Christians. It's all right, I love you anyway. Just, I've had some trouble with this. The last time I taught everybody how to go to God's banquet table, I learned that from the American Native Heritage that I'm part of, you know. And we've been at it longer than you have, you know. And give me a break. Don't get on the radio and rant and rave about me and my water is the devil and all this stuff, please. Don't do that. I don't do that to you. So if you want to come to the little meeting with an open mind and you want to learn to go to God's banquet table, I'll teach that. It's a step-by-step program, and the last time I did, 300 people, 2 of you actually wrote back and said you made it. 2 of you. So that means it's worth doing it again, because it's one ripping experience, I'm going to tell you. When you get to go, wow, especially first time, and you look down and see the earth way down there, you know that you've kind of stepped out of this place. And it's a real fabulous feeling of accomplishment. And then when you discover that at the banquet table the stuff comes up to you and performs into reality, and you see you can get schematics, you can get mathematical equations. I've solved problems for scientists that had terrible problems, and I solved them in 2 nights. It took me that long to keep, because I can't remember everything I see. So I got to come back, and then I got to go again and get some more information. But you know, all the information of the world is there. Every bit of information you need is there. And get healthy, be happy, and let's get young. And let's get rid of all our diseases and all our problems, and get on with this thing. And the very last thing I have to say is that Nikola Tesla, everybody here heard of Nikola Tesla? I'm sure, okay? Nikola Tesla built 3 devices that were part of time travel. The first one was the Lakowski multi-wave oscillator, which Lakowski sort of perfected. There is another device that goes with the Lakowski multi-wave oscillator that was never known. I know what the device is, I built it and it works. That is out of body when you want to experience to travel. That's what it is. It is you, if you've got a multi-wave oscillator, even a homemade one, I can teach you how to make it work. Because you have to build another little device. It's pretty simple. Come to me, I'll tell you what it is. But a multi-wave oscillator is you stepping out of body to travel, out-of-body experience at will. There's no accident. The second device was interdimensional. That means you can take the body with you to other planets and other places. A little risky. Got to know what you're doing. And the third dimensional travel issue was time in third dimension, which our government's been playing with for years, and they've done some pretty dastardly things with it. I'm not into that, but I was told not too long ago that if I wanted, I could find the equipment. I have found it. It's on its way. I've bought it. I own Nikola Tesla's original second device. That takes us to another planet. So we're kind of that far. And I'll be talking about that some more during my workshop. I'll explain it. And maybe I'll have in fact some pictures of it over here so I can show it to you, let you see what it looks like. It's quite a massive device. It uses 1,500,000 volts of power to run. It's a pretty dramatic instrument, and it's all original, and it's in working condition. And I've got it. It's being shipped, and it should be at this place I've built when I get home. So I hope I've made some sense here for you. I tell you, there's great hope. There's lots of stuff you can do for your health. You can get better. We got a fabulous deworming program. We've got fantastic water. There's a tape over there that you can get a hold of and watch. And there's people, I believe, on the tape that stand up and tell you what they had and what they did and how they handled it and got rid of it and did all this stuff. Oh, I still got 10 minutes. All right. When these issues basically started to develop and be crushed was in the 20s. It happened with the folks that were doing veterinarian work. They started to look at the tissue of animals, and they found out that the tissue of animals is actually full of parasites. So if you're eating medium rare, or raw meat, you got loads of parasites in you, loads of them. In medium rare, and rare meat, we find actual living hatched critters that are running around. They're already hatched. And it's in all meat. It's in chicken, pork, beef, sheep, goats, the whole 9 yards. The time that it really started to be suppressed when they wanted to use drugs for disease was in the 20s. The veterinarian group found these critters, and they went to the hospital and asked for some tissue samples of humans, which they were given. And they found all the critters in human tissue. All the critters from those meat varieties were in the tissue. When they wrote a book about it, the church got involved. And the church stood up and said, look, we don't care if the critter looks the same as it is in an animal, pees the same, runs the same, breeds the same, wiggles the same. We don't care. Man is not an animal. He is a godly being, and so those parasites are not animal parasites. They're human parasites, and they have to be dealt differently. We're not hooking man up with any animal with a parasite problem. And lots of stuff came out in the 20s and 30s that we picked up on that issue. All those books were suppressed, and now you can't find them. I'm finding them in old doctors' libraries. Doctors that are retired have those books. I got 4 of them. There's 7 of them. There's 2 I don't have. I'm still looking. You don't want to see these books. I can't look at some of the stuff because they drew them in actual size in color. They drew them in color. One page is the critter, the next page is the prescription or the herbs or the drug that would kill those critters. And all of that work was done. It was done in the 20s, and then it was suppressed. It was kept even from the young men that are becoming doctors today. They don't even know that it exists. They spend, I think, 1 week on parasites in their whole trip of becoming a doctor, and that's that. So they don't even think it happens, and you know, they don't think they have a nutrient problem. We've got colloidal this, colloidal that, colloidal minerals. We got all kinds of stuff for you to get you better. Doctors don't think that they have a problem, and that's why they die at what, 58? That's their lifespan. Well, dead doctors don't lie. You know, they're dead. And there's a man that created a tape called Dead Doctors Don't Lie, and he's right. They don't. They're dead. They starved to death. They got old. They refused to feed their bodies the nutrient values you need. And the more fertilizers they use and the more craziness that they use in the soil, the more stuff that they do, the less nutrient value is in that food. the less colloids are in that food for you to utilize. So you need to supplement your stuff, and you need to do it with colloids. Believe me, folks, the whole trick is in colloids, and that research was done in Rockefeller Center in the 30s, where they used just colloids to bring back to life dead flowers. Dead flowers, dried. They sprayed colloids on them, and even the petals came to life. So the secret is in colloids. Every single thing you need, everything you need, your body has to turn into a colloid. Every bit of food you eat, your body can't use it unless it turns it into a colloid. And if it can't, it's waste. And with all the drugs and the chemicals in all our foods, what we're running into is serious problem. All the drugs and chemicals, fertilizers and the such that is in the plant now gets into your body and drags your vibration down. Sets up a vibratory rate in your body that parasites do extremely well in. And that's what the problem is. We need to clean up. We need to do it. We need to flush the body out with some stuff that's actually going to work. And we need to handle disease desperately. We need to get on it. There's all kinds of things happening on this planet that are not so good, and it's being caused by filth. All you have to do is do what I do, fly all over the country and have a look at the air. I was going into Denver, and the pilot came on and said, "It's an absolute beautiful day, not a cloud in the sky, and it's sun shining, and we're at 6,000 feet, and we'll be in Denver for you right on time." And guess what? We couldn't see the ground from the smog. On that day, the air was still, and we could not see the ground for the smog, and we were 6,000 feet. And yet he said there's not a cloud in the sky, and it's a beautiful day. My word, I couldn't believe it. That's our problem. So, next meeting. My gasoline device is finished, ready for your cars, doubles your gas mileage. Okay? That's my next invention. It's all finished, ready to go, and if I'm invited to the next do, I'm going to bring the second dimensional time unit. I'm going to actually bring it and set it up and make it work and show it to you. Okay? So that's the way it's going. And I imagine after February, March, April, we won't be able to talk this way anymore. We won't be able to mention parasites. We won't be able to mention anything. And you're on your own after that. Okay? So this is Wayne Rowland bidding you goodbye. And all we got left is the gas device. And how long will I be able to talk about that? Poof, I don't know. At least we'll be rid of the FDA. Thank you, folks.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Wayne. And his table.